Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because today we're diving headfirst into one of the most intense media versus politics stories in recent memory. This isn't just a run-of-the-mill feud, it's a full-blown legal battle that could have major implications for how the media operates and how public figures defend their reputations. We're talking about Senator John Fetterman versus Sunny Hostin and the daytime juggernaut The View. This story has all the ingredients of a headline-grabbing drama, a no-nonsense senator, a bold media personality, allegations of defamation, and the age-old debate about freedom of speech versus accountability.
That about the J6 people too, though, right? That's what they're going to say on the other side. That is weaponized also.
I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about the New York trial, and now the Democrats on our side there were some that were gleeful, calling it like now he's a convicted felon and those things, and now for our party we were talking about criminal justice, and we are now talking about second chances, and now all of a sudden now you're like, well, he's a convicted felon and all these things. And now clearly again, both of those trials, the Hunter Biden one and the trial in New York for Trump, that was politically motivated, and those kinds of charges would have never been brought unless one side could realize that they could weaponize that.
But to understand why this case is making waves, we need to break it all down from the beginning. John Fetterman, for those unfamiliar, is the Democratic senator from Pennsylvania. Fetterman isn't your typical politician. He's raw, unpolished, and unapologetically authentic. Known for his casual hoodie and short style and his blue-collar demeanor, Fetterman's appeal lies in his ability to connect with everyday Americans. But this lawsuit isn't about his policies or his fashion sense. It's about his reputation, which, as any politician will tell you, is everything in their line of work. On the other side, we have Sunny Hostin, a former federal prosecutor turned media personality and co-host of The View. She's smart, opinionated, and unafraid to take on tough topics, making her a key voice on the show. The View itself has been a cornerstone of daytime television for over 2 decades, blending political discourse with pop culture in a way that keeps millions of viewers hooked. So, how did these two worlds collide? Let's set the stage. Fetterman appeared as a guest on The View, which is no surprise. Politicians from both sides of the aisle often use the platform to connect with voters and share their perspectives. But during his appearance, something happened that would spark this legal firestorm. According to Fetterman's camp, Hostin made statements during the show that he claims were not only false, but also defamatory.
If you they had a placebo group, and they had a vaccine group because they wanted for military readiness to see if the flu shot was prophylactic against coronavirus. What they found is actually the people who got the flu shot were 36% more likely to get coronavirus. And that's not a lone study. We found 6 other major studies that say the same thing. If you get the flu shot, you're more likely to get coronavirus. Look, all you have to do, Alan, and this is what Cochrane said, is look what's happened to longevity in the elderly since we started mandating the flu shot to elderly people. Those are the people who their life expectancy has dramatically gone down as the flu shot proliferated. And if you see, the people who died during the COVID crisis.
Now, we don't have a full transcript of the exact comments because, lawsuits take time and legal teams are careful about releasing details. But from what's been revealed, Fetterman alleges that Hostin's remarks crossed the line from political critique into outright defamation. In his lawsuit, he claims these statements damaged his reputation, caused emotional distress, and even hurt his career. This is where things get really interesting. Fetterman's lawsuit isn't just about defending his reputation, it's also about sending a message that platforms like The View, with their massive audiences, need to be held accountable for the words they broadcast.
It's his son, after all, and people do have sympathy for that. But a lot of people are angry with him about it. What do you say?
Well, I think it's undeniable that the case against Hunter Biden was really politically motivated, but I also think it's true that the trial in New York for Trump that was political as well too. Now it's that, and in both cases, I think a pardon is appropriate, and I really think collectively, America's confidence in these kinds of institutions have been damaged by these kinds of cases. And we cannot allow these kinds of institutions to be weaponized against our political opponents. And it's very clear both trials were politically motivated and weaponized that on the other.
Let's take a moment to unpack what this means. In today's media landscape, shows like The View hold incredible power. They don't just report the news, they shape public opinion. When a co-host makes a bold claim, millions of viewers hear it, and for many, that claim becomes their reality. Fetterman's argument is that with great power comes great responsibility. He's essentially saying, if you're going to discuss me, get your facts straight. But as you can imagine, not everyone sees it that way. Critics of Fetterman's lawsuit argue that public figures like him need to have thicker skin. They say that as a politician, he should expect scrutiny, even harsh criticism, as part of the job. After all, freedom of speech is one of the pillars of democracy. Some are even warning that this lawsuit could set a dangerous precedent, making media platforms hesitant to engage in critical discussions about powerful figures. So where do we draw the line? This isn't just a legal battle, it's a philosophical debate about the balance between free speech and accountability. Should media personalities be free to express their opinions without fear of lawsuits? Or should there be consequences when those opinions are based on falsehoods that can harm someone's career and reputation?
In a new Netflix documentary series about New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers, he said he's heartbroken about friends and family cutting him off for his controversial political views and conspiracy theories. And a lot of Americans can relate to this, especially after this last election. So, do you think it happens everywhere?
What I recall about him is when he was asked about the COVID-19 pandemic, during the height of the pandemic, when people had lost loved ones, when people's family members were missing from their Thanksgiving table, like my table, he said, "I'm immunized." And as it turns out, he was not. He had done his own research. He has his Google MD like I do. And I think he said he was allergic to something in the vaccine, but he had COVID and he was in a huddle with his teammates. And I think people felt like, wow, you don't care. You're not your brother's keeper.
This could really, this could really turn me against
a morality.
And let's not forget, this case has a lot riding on it for both sides. For Fetterman, it's a chance to defend his name and stand up against what he sees as harmful misinformation. For Hostin and The View, it's about protecting their right to express opinions and engage in spirited debates without fearing legal repercussions. But the implications go beyond these two individuals. If Fetterman wins, it could lead to stricter standards for media outlets and personalities when discussing public figures. It could signal to the media world that there are real consequences for spreading false information, even if it's done in the name of entertainment or opinion. On the other hand, if Hostin and The View come out on top, it might reaffirm the idea that public figures need to endure criticism, no matter how harsh or inaccurate it might seem. It would reinforce the importance of free speech, even when it makes people uncomfortable. And let's not ignore the elephant in the room, how this case is being perceived by the public. In today's polarized world, everything is viewed through a partisan lens. Supporters of Fetterman see this lawsuit as a brave stand against media sensationalism. Meanwhile, critics see it as an overreach by a politician who should focus on governance instead of lawsuits. But regardless of where you stand, one thing is clear. This case is a wake-up call for everyone involved in the media and political ecosystem. It's a reminder that words matter, especially when they're broadcast to millions of people.
In a million years, I would not take the flu shot, and I'll tell you why, because this is what Cochrane and BMJ have found. People who take the flu shot are protected against that strain of flu. They're 4.4 times more likely to get a non-flu infection. And you might find, and a lot of people do, that they get the flu shot and then they get sick. They're usually not getting the flu. They're getting something that is indistinguishable from the flu because the flu shot gives you something called pathogenic priming. It injures your immune system so that you're more likely to get a non-flu viral upper respiratory infection. In fact, the Pentagon published a story, and you can cite this, it's by Wolfe, W-O-L-F-E, in January of this year, in which they said that the flu shot not only primes you for flu, but it primes you for corona.
As we wait for more details to emerge, one question looms large. What does this case mean for the future of media and politics in America? Will it lead to a more responsible press, or will it make the media more cautious and less willing to challenge those in power? We'll be watching this story closely, and as more details come to light, we'll keep you updated. In the meantime, let's hear from you. Do you think Fetterman's lawsuit is justified, or do you see it as an attack on free speech? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's have a discussion about where we as a society should draw the line. And if you found this deep dive interesting, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates. Until next time, stay informed, stay critical, and keep questioning the world around you.